In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create or use our spreadsheet for SaaS entrepreneurs to help you run, measure, react, improve, and communicate what truly matters, whether it's inside your business or with outside organizations such as your investors. Here's the problem that we're solving with the spreadsheet. Like many of you, we were faced with the problem of tracking as much data as possible in order to understand what is happening with our business on a daily basis. Now that was a huge undertaking for a small team. And when we try to look for other tools out there that would help us bring our data in from different sources and then let us customize it to our needs, we couldn't find anything. So we decided to create one for all of you entrepreneurs, and we hope you like it and we hope you use it. What you're seeing here is the spreadsheet template that we have labeled the only spreadsheet a SaaS entrepreneur will ever need. And it's because it is a very robust system. We have a number of tabs here that I'm going to go through individually, which each one displays some very specific information that will help you either manage your company, run a day-to-day campaign for marketing or advertising, or even manage your sales. Let's get started. First is our investor dashboard. In this tab, we have all of the elements that our typical investors have asked for on a month-to-month basis. Now, the beauty of a spreadsheet is that all these KPIs can be edited however our investor sees fit or how we want to show to the investor. And what we do with our investors is we share this entire tab with them so that they can see what is happening with our company 24/7. Best of all, we always add updates here or needs, which surprisingly investors read without us even knowing it. So we've had a lot of really good introductions as a result of us using this tab. As you can see, we have a dashboard view of just the high-level KPIs that our investors care about. They can then go into the graphics and then can go into the month-to-month metrics that we can showcase. Fairly simple, and it's amazing how many companies do not have this, and if they would wow investors like you wouldn't believe it. The second tab is related to investors as well. It shows an example cap table. Now I added this because a lot of entrepreneurial companies that I had faced really struggled with this. So make of it what you want. You can edit it as you see fit. This is the cap table that I've used in a number of businesses. It seems to do the trick. Okay, now let's get into the business. So we have a number of tabs down here that'll display the purpose or the department that should be managing the tab. And we're going to start with the marketing tab. This marketing tab is able to pull in information from Google, Google Analytics, and Facebook for the most part in order to give me the KPIs that I want or deserve. There's a couple of things that you have to do as you're running a company. Number one is testing. So to the right, you see three essentially big boxes for things that we're going to test. We're going to A/B test different landing pages. We're also going to be collecting macro conversions from all those tests, and we're going to be collecting micro conversions from all these micro tests, right? For me to make this spreadsheet work, all I have to do is go in and edit this to be the URL that I want. So thank you for signing up would be URL number 1. And if I have a website that ends with that URL, all of this information will be fetched from my Google Analytics feed. Same thing, I would do the same thing for macro conversions, and then I would do the same thing for micro conversions. And once I have that data, it is summarized in these high-level sort of boxes. So now my marketing department can track all of their tests here. They'll be able to track their marketing return on investment. We always add our marketing spend in order to calculate what our ROI is. And then the second we see either a little peak from users visiting the thank you page or converting a thank you page or a flattening of the data, we can go in and dig deeper. So let's assume that all of a sudden page 1 peaks the week of June 1st, right? What we're going to do is we're going to try to identify why that happened. And one of the first things that we turn to is, well, where are visitors coming from? What happened in some of these places to drive that visit? And obviously, these numbers would reflect that. And if we still can't figure that out, we would go into our social media numbers, right? So all these started populating already. And we will then see what our conversions from here in Facebook or LinkedIn would be driven by the campaign. So in our company, this is managed by our marketing department. And what we do at the beginning of every week, since we track this on a weekly basis, we put our analysis and recommendations down here that tell the story of our data. And before we plan anything new, we always have a conversation about our data, right? So now that we have the structure for how we're going to track our marketing KPIs, we move into what we're actually going to do for marketing with our content calendar. This is fairly self-explanatory. We have dates for the month where we categorize, subcategorize, put our target demographic. This is our call to action. What does our content post look like? And this is the data that we're going to retrieve from it. Pretty self-explanatory. In the end, all this information leads to a call to action, which then leads to either a landing page or a conversion, and it's reflected down here. So now that we have our marketing KPI structure and we're generating brand awareness, and we figured out that one of these landing pages is really converting users at a high level, and we know the message that is converting users at a high level because we're tracking that in our content calendar, it's time to really press on the accelerator. And that's when we decide to spend money on advertising. As a rule of thumb, we do not spend money on advertising until we've seen some really good data coming from these posts. So we go into our advertising KPI campaign. Now all this is in zeros, obviously, because I didn't want you guys to see the data. But the advertising template or tab is split out into 3 sections. This is what I call my high-level overview, and I usually use that with upper management. And all we're tracking here is what are our conversion rates from all of our ads, how much are we spending, and can we calculate a return on investment. As you can see, we have an analysis and recommendation section, and in here we place certain graphics that are important to us internally. That's section 1. Section 2 is also pretty high level, but it breaks it down by channel. So we know that a message works. Now we're going to try to identify which channel it works best in. And all we're doing is summarizing information from AdWords or Facebook ads in here to identify which channel leads to the greatest conversions. 2 big important kind of factors in here is we have internal ratios for measuring fatigue rate and quality score based on the ads that we're putting out. These KPIs help us understand when we should stop the ad or when we can keep going. And ultimately, we end up comparing these ratios to our cost per conversion to determine when the ad is no longer profitable. So now we have a high-level view by channel. We have our advertising executives that track this on a daily basis. And if you want more detail, you can do the same thing, right? So we have all of our campaigns that we're theoretically running, all their budgets. This is the money that we spent so far to date, and as you can see, it goes into a different tab to fetch it based on the campaign name, and this is the balance. So our ad managers are really, really strict on here. We have certain KPIs that we track on a per campaign basis, whether it's daily or weekly. This is what we look at, and again, ad fatigue rate, quality score, and dollar per user conversion are really important to us. Might not be for you, but that's what we do. Okay, so now we have a marketing funnel that's driving users to our site. We've amplified that funnel by spending on advertising, and our conversions are really, really good. We then turn to our sales. And what this template has under the monthly bookings is an exact perception of your sales. In this case, the monthly bookings is fetching data from our Stripe system automatically, and you'll see in some of the formulas here how it does that, to give us an accurate picture on a month-to-month basis of what our MRR is and our churn rate is on either a revenue basis or on a per plan basis. All these plans were set up in the instructions and tab and are reflected throughout the entire model. So pretty self-explanatory. There's some really, really good examples of the MRR tracking for SaaS companies out there. We just made this one a little better by automating it. Very simple. Now that we have information on our acquisition KPIs and our revenue KPIs, we realize that we still have to put it all together in context. And one of the best ways to do so, if you don't have the time to drill down into all these numbers, is through a dashboard. So we actually created 2 dashboard views. One is on a week over week basis, and one is on a month over month basis. And if you read our article, you'll understand why we did that. But basically, what we did is we said, if I'm an entrepreneur, I don't have all the time in the world to go into these, very detailed KPI reports. Is there a way for me to understand what's happening with my company? And Pirate Metrics actually gives us a really good foundation for it. So what you're seeing on our week over week report and our month over month report are our KPIs broken down through the AARRR method that most people discuss as Pirate Metrics. So again, I have all my current KPIs that I want to track through my acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, and referral KPIs. These are for you to use. These are for you to modify. The beauty of this is it is automatically fetching the information. You never have to do it. All you have to do is change the dates to view different time periods. And now you have a great idea of what is happening with your company on a week-to-week basis. So, what happens at the end of the month? You've been tracking all these things and you see some amazing growth, and you have to start planning for the next month. Well, that's why we created the month over month dashboard view. In here, we're able to see the KPIs, like we said again, through the Pirate Metrics structure. We added our conversion pages to see more detail as to what led to the greatest conversion so that we can plan our calendar. But what we use this for is we really use it to take a step back from our day-to-day or week-to-week KPIs, get a better picture of the business through a top-level point of view. We place our goals here, and then we're off to the races. You can do the same thing. You can modify it. Again, there's no one solid way to do this. We just find that this works really well for us. So now that you have this really awesome interconnected spreadsheet, you want to see how all this data affects your model, right? So as a startup, you've probably built a business model. Well, we did the same thing here. We set up a tab for projections for our model, and we set up a tab for what's actually happening with our business so that we can compare both. This projections model was actually taken from Co-Founders Capital in North Carolina. We have adapted it quite a bit, but it gives us a really simple, elegant way for us to project our business behavior along the way. Once we have that done, we compare it to our realized data, and then we can really see if our projections were that far off or maybe not, and then we adapt. So all this culminates in us having a really good grasp of what's happening in our business, sharing that with outside parties such as investors, sharing it internally through highly detailed reports, and making sure that our business doesn't miss out on any important opportunities or waste time somewhere else. And the reason why this works is because Factivate has the ability to connect to different sources of information. And what I've done here is I've created tabs by going on the template download page. I've connected those tabs to my account, and it's already filling up with information from Google AdWords, Stripe, right? You have subscriptions. You have Facebook page information. You have Facebook ad information. All this culminates into a really powerful spreadsheet for SaaS entrepreneurs. I hope that this helps many of you. That's part of the reason why we did it. If you have any comments or questions, please share those with us. I know I didn't talk about all the KPIs that you would probably track as a SaaS business. So use this as a foundation, edit it, share it with as many people as you can.